Hello and welcome to this next video in this series about the New Testament. Today we briefly discuss three exciting topics from the second half of the letter to the Romans. First question, does God speak according to this epistle? Second question, did the God of Israel lie? And then the third one, how should a Christian behave? There are more issues, but I think for today these are the most important ones. Why did I choose this background? I'll tell you later. First subject, does God speak? Chapter 16 says, and have been made known by prophetic scriptures according to the commandment of the eternal God, to obedience to faith to all nations. So the eternal God has spoken. He did reveal things and commanded to write them down so that all people may know them and do what he had said. The Old and the New Testament contain words that the eternal God had people write down, words he had commanded. The eternal God commanded things. Please think about the following. A few years ago, I myself wrote a book. I had thoughts and ideas. I wanted to share them with people. I forwarded my text to a publisher. The book was printed 10,000 times and put up for sale. The content exactly revealed what I wanted. I was able to do something like this. If I can do this, God can't? Yes, of course. He had a book written. He had written down what he has commanded. And we can buy it and read it. The Epistle to the Romans is a part of this book, the Bible. Second subject, did the God of Israel lie? In Romans 1-8, we have read that God promises us that when we are converted, have our thoughts and mind renewed, we will be secure forever. Wonderful. Here one could say God promised terrific things to Israel in the Old Testament. For example, a wonderful kingdom on earth under the Messiah. And he could say, what has become of it? Nothing. There is no wonderful kingdom with the Messiah. So, the God of Israel lied. And then he could say, if God lied by then, how can we trust him now? Can we be sure of all these wonderful promises in chapters 1-8? Well, in Romans 9-11, Paul clarified this problem. God used him to explain this, and he used a lot of quotations from the Old Testament to do so. In chapter 9 it says, God has never said that his promises would be for all the people of Israel, but only for those who wanted to believe and to whom he had chosen. And in chapter 10 it says, yes, God has spoken, and he has done his part. But Israel did not do its part. It was always disobedient. Doing what God says would not have been too difficult, but they were just disobedient. That is why God has suspended his promises, but has not withdrawn them. And then, in chapter 11, we find God did not reject Israel. Verse 1 says, I say then, Did not God reject his people? No. Over the centuries, among the Jews, there have always been those who have been true believers in Jesus Christ. Paul himself and the disciples of Jesus were among them. And even today, there are many Christian Jews. Isn't that great? God has not rejected Israel. He has just put them on a side track. And that only for a time. In the future, he will accept his people again. Wow, there's great hope for his people. In verse 26 we read, "And thus all Israel will be saved, as it is written." And then again, a quotation from the Old Testament follows. After their future purification, the so-called tribulation, the rest of Israel will be saved. This chapter ends with a great praise for the wisdom of the great God. Now this background image. I painted it many years ago. The idea was, one day wars and misery will stop. A new day will dawn. The kingdom of Messiah will become a reality. Topic 3. How does a Christian behave? In the previous video, we found that our salvation is a gift from God, without works. The question arose, can we then do what we want? The answer was a definite no. This answer is being elaborated in chapters 12 to 14. Right at the beginning, in verse 1 and 2, Christians are challenged to find out what is the will of God for their lives. Well, first of all, concerning the fellowship of Christians, that is the church, in chapter 12. And then secondly, in the world, we have to deal with our government, chapter 13. And thirdly, how to deal with weak believers around us. That's chapter 14. Here we find guidelines for all those areas. So as I said, we cannot just do what we want. And then there's also this future perspective. We believers, the saved, must appear before the judgment seat of God. Chapter 14, verse 10. This is not about whether we are saved or lost. It's not a final judgment where heaven or hell is at stake. The believer does not get there. Here it is about the question, what reward will we receive? Isn't that great? We have been saved by grace. We may live for God, and we will receive a reward for what we have done for him. How wonderful is God? May God bless you. Until next time, your Wim Hoddenbagh.